Everybody took a drink.
Welcome back to Kingdom Cast. It's your host, Bad Luck Chuck. We're back at it again with another episode of Kingdom Cast. We're taking a little slight break from the 2021 season in review, as we do have a very, very special guest on board this week. But before we introduce him, let's get to the introductions to everybody else. Top left-hand corner is my guy, Country. The top right-hand of the screen is our homegirl, Kylie. The bottom right-hand of the screen is my guy, Boogie. And our special guest, he was one of the best centers in the National Football League when he played. He was a one-time Pro Bowl selection in 1999. 11-year veteran. We'd like to welcome our Chiefs Hall of Famer, Tim Grunhard, to this week's episode of Kingdom Cast. How you doing, Tim?
Hi, I am doing excellent, and thank you so much for having me on, guys. Very, very happy to be with you guys here on a Sunday, and Chuck, thanks for. Usually, people cheat me out of 1 year because I played from '90 to 2000, and they always say 10 seasons. I'm like, guys, listen, it's 11 seasons. It's hard enough to get 11 seasons, so don't cheat me out of one. So, give you kudos for that, Big Chuck. All right.
Yeah, I had to make sure, man. I had to make sure not to mess that one up. So definitely, man. But Tim, man, it's great to have you on, man. And also, I forgot to mention, you are doing some big things with the Third Long Foundation. You took that over, when Derek Thomas passed away, and it's been going strong so far. So we definitely gonna get into that.
Oh man, hey, thank you so much for bringing that up. And yeah, I would love to talk about it, but I know you guys got a lot of great Chief questions, and I'm excited to talk with you guys. So let's get rolling.
Yeah, definitely. And if you guys tune in on Twitter, head over to YouTube if you want to ask Tim some questions. We'll have it on display on the screen and everything. So, but first off, Tim, man, besides the Third Long Foundation, what do you have going on these days?
Well, other than doing the stuff over at 810, I do Tuesdays with Sren Petro from 4 to 5, and then Frank Bowl and I, the Godfather of Sports, do our Crunch Time from 6 to 7 on Thursday, and then Friday mornings is my fun day with the Border Patrol guys. So doing that, and also back in coaching over at Bishop Miege, coaching the offensive line over there. Took a couple of years off to go watch my son play football at Notre Dame, and anytime I get an opportunity to give back to this great game that gave me so much, man, I'm going to take advantage of it, and I'm just loving and blessed that I'm able to go over and work with those kids.
So that's cool, man. So
Is your
like,
daughter still swimming?
What's that?
Is your daughter still swimming?
No, both of my daughters are done. My oldest daughter, who swam at Notre Dame, she graduated, and she's living in Cincinnati. So that was yeah.
Nice having you, Tim.
Let me tell you something. That was an interesting. So we went out to the game in Cincinnati with the whole family, and she had a Bengal hat on. And I'm like, listen. Who's been paying all these bills for all these years? You're wearing a Bengals hat? I mean, the Chiefs. I mean, how do you think you got all those clothes and all that stuff that you got for the Chiefs money? And now you're wearing a Bengal hat? So, yeah, she said, well, Dad, I'm rooting for the Chiefs, but, you know how that goes. Kylie, maybe I need your help, man. I've never been very good communicating with my daughters. They run the show in the house, so I got to find a way to get her kind of back into this Chiefs fold because it's kind of aggravating to look at that Cincinnati colors on her.
I know. Just keep buying her cute Chiefs clothes, maybe. And that way she's just like, oh, I got to wear it. It's so cute. Maybe just get some real fresh stuff going on for her.
That's a great idea. And the other thing, she's got this dog now that, she's putting these out. So I'll buy the dog Chief stuff. So that'll really aggravate her. So she has to put that on the dog too. So,
yeah.
But so we got to do something. But yeah, so she's living in Cincinnati. And then my other daughter who swam is her senior year of nursing. And they got so much stuff going on with all the nursing program that she's no longer swimming, but thanks for asking. Very, very proud of my two daughters that were swimmers. They really worked hard, and that's a tough sport. So,
oh man, I never swam. I don't think I could. It looks tough.
The only way I could swim at the Lake of the Ozarks, I had that one-arm swim. I could carry my beer in one hand and I tread water in the other one. That's about all I could do. So they didn't get it from me.
I still get to go to the Lake of Ozarks. I gotta knock that off at some point.
There you go.
For sure.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. So
It's a
good
great time.
man.
Yeah. So I was about to say is that now that you are coaching and everything, how different is the viewpoint from you playing in the sport and you coaching the sport now currently?
That's a great question. I started coaching basically right after I was done playing in 2001 for a guy named Rick Byers over at St. Pius High School. Rick is my mentor. I love Rick. Now he's over at William Chrisman, coaching there as a head coach. And, I had to learn a lesson because when I first got there coaching the offensive line, I kind of wanted to be buddies with the guys. Listen, I like to have a good time. I like the players. I think I'm one of the players, all that kind of stuff. And I realized that doesn't work. So I had to kind of make a seed change a little bit. And when I did that, I kind of started getting to the role of coaching. And I coached there for 4 years. And then I was the head coach at Bishop Miege for 6 years. And then went out to KU with Charlie Weiss. We don't talk about those times. And then I went over and coached at Bishop Miege again. So I love coaching. And, anytime that you can give a young man, and young women with other sports also, but you give a young man an opportunity or a vehicle to go on and go to college. And listen, I always tell our kids, there's a football program out there for you. If you want to play, we'll find a program for you. And it's such a great sport. And when you get to college and you have an opportunity to play a collegiate sport, I think it does a great job, first of all, of keeping you kind of focused, keeping you kind of in line a little bit. And really, your time management is so important in college. So most of the time, student athletes do a pretty good job of graduating and going on from college. But I think sports does a great job for that. So I love to give these kids an opportunity or vehicle to use sport like I did. You go ahead and make a living on it, or you go to college with it.
Hey, Tim, I was always curious why you never went the pro route. You've done all levels except at the top level. Why didn't you ever go NFL?
Well, it really you kind of got to jump right into that right after you're done. And that's one of the reasons why I think I struggled a little bit in the college level, because I was 43, 44 years old. And now jumping into college football and working 16, 17 hours a day, for a guy that hasn't been doing that. So I kind of made the decision not to coach. Actually, Herm Edwards asked me if I was interested, and I said, no, Herm, I'm just going to coach in the high school level. And then I also coached in NFL Europe. I coached for the Cologne Centurions in Germany, and I really enjoyed that. But you know what? I just felt like I had a great opportunity to affect young men's lives and give them an opportunity to have success. And if not all the football players in high school are going to go on to play in college, and very few even go on to play in the pros, but they're all going to live in our neighborhoods, and they're all going to be part of our lives, and all going to be part of Kansas City. So if you can affect young men and give them an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to understand responsibility and understand how to go ahead and make the best out of their lives. If I could do that a little bit with being a football coach and mentoring, to me, that was more important. And that's another thing why I really never went on and did any kind of color commentating or any of that kind of stuff. I just thought my role would probably be better to go ahead and work with kids. And I've really enjoyed that.
Okay. That's cool, man. So like you mentioned that you coach NFL Europe out in Germany. I know you've seen the news swirling around that the Chiefs are going to be playing out in Germany next season. The rumor I've been seeing is that they'll be playing the Buccaneers. Just waiting on confirmation. So, I mean, what do you think about the Chiefs going overseas again, this time in Germany, and playing out there to try to expand that fan base?
Well, I'm going to maybe break a little news on the Kingdom Cast here that it looks like now this is just everything kind of works out. We got all that crazy stuff going on over in Europe right now, but I'll be going over there with Dante Hall to Germany to do some work to promote the game. So really nice. Looking forward to that. It's still kind of in limbo right now because of all this stuff going on, but I think it's a great opportunity. Listen, the German people love American football, and I think that they're going to love the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are partnering with the Munich soccer team out there, And so there's a nice little relationship there. So I think it's great. I'm not sure that they should open up a market in Germany or any of those places, but I think by the time it's all said and done, London will have a football team in the NFL, and they'll expand out into Europe. So I think it's a good opportunity for the Chiefs to build their brand.
Yeah, I was my dad was in the military, so I was out in Frankfurt at the time. I forgot the name of the team though.
Galaxy.
But Frankfurt
Galaxy.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we played against those guys. We also played in Amsterdam. We can't talk about that though here.
How big of a? Yeah, just curious. With it being quite a commute to go to Europe, how big of an effect do you think that has on the team and the players having to travel overseas to prepare for a game?
That's a great question, and I do think it has an effect. Now, a lot of times they try to put it around a bye week, so let's hope that the NFL will be cognizant of the scheduling. So if the Chiefs go and play in Germany the next week, they'll have their bye week. But in this day and age, when you fly from New York to LA to play, that's a 6-hour flight or 5.5-hour flight. And you could basically get over into, from New York into London and into Germany in about 8 or 9 hours. So it's just a little bit longer. But yeah, to your question, it is. That does cause a little bit of an effect. You got some jet lag and you're, as soon as you're done playing, all of a sudden you're going on an airplane. We played in Tokyo twice when I was Chiefs in preseason games. And then we played in Germany once in Berlin my rookie year. And I remember playing the game, and then, right after the game, you get on the plane. And I never forget, about 6, 7 hours into that long flight from Tokyo, you're cramping up and you're just all tight, and it certainly is a process. So hopefully the NFL will figure out a way that they can have a bye week either before or after that game.
Yeah, definitely. Smart. Yeah.
Boogie, what's going on, man? I felt like you had something earlier for Tim.
Oh no, well, you said you don't think that we'll get a team over there. Well, you said you think they will eventually. How long do you think that'll be? Because it seemed like they've been trying to do that for a while. Like you said, Tokyo. I didn't even know y'all played in Tokyo. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think here within the next 10, 15 years, there'll be a team in London. So here's the plan, is what I heard, is that what they'll do is the NFL is going to build a practice facility / NFL facility somewhere on the East Coast, maybe near New York or New Jersey. And what a team will do is they'll travel after their game and they'll practice over in New York, and then they'll jump on a plane and fly to London, and then they'll fly back after that, and then they'll practice for one more week in that practice facility, and then they'll hopefully have another East Coast game. So there'll be an opportunity. So if let's say you're playing in Denver, you'll fly after your game, you'll fly to New York, you'll practice there, you'll get on a flight. The flight will be, a 6-hour flight or something to London. You get back, you land in New York again, you have your day off, you practice there, and then you play an East Coast game and you go home. Now that's going to cause some travel issues for people that are going to be away from home and be away from people for a long time. But that's kind of, I think, what the situation will be for the teams that go and play in London. And, listen, the NFL, just like, the NBA has expanded into, China and some other places, the NFL understands they got to open up their market. It's a huge market. It's a huge corporation. And they need to open up and expand a little bit. Just let's hope that it doesn't hurt the product and cause any issues with travel and everything else like you were talking about, Boogie.
I wonder too. So obviously, if they want to expand to Europe, they've already expanded the season to 17 games, and I know when you played, there were 16 games. So I guess first off, how do you feel about them adding another game? And then also to that, do we think they'll go to 18 games with an expansion into Europe?
Yeah, they might. And if they do that, I think you won't see any preseason games, or maybe just one preseason game. Preseason games are basically worthless now. Nobody really plays in them anyway. So, back when even just right before I was there, they were playing 6 to 8 preseason games. I mean, it was crazy. So, we played 4 preseason games, and most of the time the older guys only played maybe in the second game and the third game. They never really played in the first and the fourth. So you really only need one game, maybe 2 games. You don't need all those preseason games. So if you add that, obviously it has to be negotiated and the players will get paid more, which usually they don't mind too much. So, but that'll probably be the process. But to answer your question, I think they could go to 18, but I think 18 will be it. I thought the season this year was a good length. But, man, you look, it was the middle of February, and you're still playing football. I mean, it's crazy. So you really can't go too much farther.
Yeah, now you say preseason might be worthless now, but don't you think like you still kind of need preseason just to get the timing down still as far as game speed and of course checking out the guys that are trying to make the roster?
Yeah, that's the key is the guys that are trying to make the roster. Those are the ones that really get affected because, on most rosters, a 53-man roster, there's about 40 guys they know are going to make the team. And then you got about 13 or 14 or 15 guys that are trying to make it. And for those guys, preseason games are so important. But, in this day and age, listen, preseason games were, originally they were to get guys in shape because most of the guys worked in the offseason. Ed Buddy, who played for the Chiefs, worked at Coca-Cola. He worked at Coca-Cola all offseason, and all of a sudden in July, he would, put his Coca-Cola, shirt down and go pick up his Chiefs shirt, and they would get in shape. So that's why they had so many preseason games. Now these guys have off-season program, they have OTAs, they have all these different things that they're doing that are all organized. So to your point, you do need to kind of knock the rust off with some hitting and kind of getting used to having those pads on. But most of these guys are doing football stuff basically all year round. So I don't think it affects the timing as much, but the football aspect of tackling and blocking and all those kind of things, you certainly need some preseason games or a couple of intense practices during training camp, which they really don't have anymore anyway. So
now you play with Marty. Your definition of intense practice is a way different thing than what today is, right?
Yeah, man. We had 6.5 weeks one time, almost 7 weeks of 2-a-days, and we were in pads every day. It was brutal. And Marty, he didn't believe in, going in shorts and shells. He wanted – we had to talk him into taking his shoulder pads off on Fridays towards the end of his time with Kansas City. And we were doing full live drills on Friday morning. I mean, it was crazy. But it was Marty ball. Listen, he liked to run the ball, like smash mouth. He was all about intensity, all about toughness, all about being physical. And the only way he knew how to get that across was by practicing that way. And he used to say all the time, hey, listen, we're going to go out there, we're going to work hard, we're going to practice hard, and we're going to be able to walk on that field and know that we put in the time and the effort to win a football game. But as you guys know, we got to the end of the year, when the playoffs rolled around, it was the walking wounded, man. It looked like MASH out there. So that affected a lot of times in the playoffs, and I think it hurt Marty's playoff record because, it was so intense during the regular season.
I was watching the Joe Montana documentary, and you weren't interviewed, but you did show up a couple of times. You actually played with Joe Montana.
I played for Joe for 2 years. Yeah, I'll never forget, man, when he walked into the locker room. And listen, I had his poster on my wall growing up. I love Joe Montana. And all of a sudden, here's Joe Montana. I didn't know what to call him. Was Mr. Montana or Joe, or I wasn't sure what to call him. So he came over and said, "Hey, Grunny, Joe Montana, I heard you're my center. Let's go out and grab something to eat." And from that point on, we had a really great relationship. And a wonderful guy, just a great professional. I wish we would have had him 4 or 5 years earlier while he was in his prime, but he still brought us to an AFC championship game, and he was basically 36, 37 years old. Nowadays, that's nothing for quarterbacks, but back then, they actually hit quarterbacks back then. You can't even touch these guys now. So, Joe Montana, he had his elbows were all swollen, his knees were all swollen. It was tough to watch him sometimes because he took a beating in his career.
How was he like preparation-wise?
Yeah, man, he was as good as I've ever been around. But even more importantly than that, Boogie, he just exuded confidence. You know, when he walked into our locker room, you know, we got credibility right away with Joe Montana walking in. And the other thing is this, he has so much confidence on the football field. You know, prime example, we were playing against the Denver Broncos on a Monday night game, the Elway, Montana game that everybody talks about, one of the best Monday night games. And, you know, we had a minute, 10 left or something. And, you know, listen, we got our butts kicked up in Denver all the time. And it was always a close game. And then Elway would come back and beat us. And it'd be, you know, like, not again. So It happened. Elway goes down and scores with about a minute 20, minute 15 left. And we're thinking, oh, man. So we get in the huddle, and we're all just kind of bumming out. Montana walks in the huddle, and kind of like he did in the John Candy story, I'm sure everybody's heard, hey, is that John Candy up there? He said something a little different. He made a comment about, did you see the outfit those cheerleaders were wearing? And we all looked at him like, he goes, guys, relax, man. This is what I do. We're fine. We're going to go down and win. And at that point, we're like, okay, here we go. And we did. That was Joe Montana.
Wow, that's awesome.
I remember that game because that was the first game. My dad was like, okay, you can finish the game. You can stay up and finish. Like, it was definitely bedtime at that time, but he was like, you can stay and finish the game. Like, and man, it was worth every second of it.
It's funny. It's funny you say that because my dad was the same way. Monday night games, I would at halftime, I'd pretend like I was sleeping on the floor. And he'd say, hey, you got to get up to bed. And I'd be like, act like I was sleeping. So maybe he'd kind of forget it and let me go so I can watch the game. But, yeah, I remember many, many times begging my dad, let me just finish the game. Let me finish the game. But very few times he let me do that. But you're right, man. There's nothing like when your dad says, hey, you can finish a Monday night game. Then you knew that you were a grown-up, I guess, right?
So
I'm not going to lie. I had on those Monday night games during school nights or whatever, I put a towel underneath the door just to make sure mom would see that it's dark and I'd be asleep. It was working for a while, and then she caught me one night doing it. She's like, Charles, get your butt to bed.
You know what? They always catch you, man. You know what? The moms, they always get you. You know, yeah, you know that's a beautiful thing about the NFL and about football. I think is, you know, you share so many stories about, you know, family and mothers and fathers and brothers and cousins and everybody. Especially, you know, I fell in love with Kansas City coming here, and so many people have told me throughout the generations that, you know, hey, I grew up. You know, my mom and dad were season ticket holders, and I got a season ticket. And the first thing I bought when I got a job was a couple of season tickets. And you know, we realized, at least I realized, that it's a sacrifice to go to a Chiefs game. It's a sacrifice. Some people decide between going on vacation in the summer or getting season tickets for the Chiefs games. And I can't tell you how blessed and how lucky and how just awesome it makes you feel that people will do those kind of things to come and watch you play, because in reality, we're all performers. I mean, we're out there performing, and we're doing our job, and we're putting on a show, and you know, people are paying for that. And that's why I always felt, man, listen, I'm going to finish every play, and I'm going to enjoy everything I do, and I'm going to acknowledge the fans, because, you know, those people are out there, man. They're busting their butt to get to a game. You know what? And they should have just as good a time as you have when you're winning football games. And that was important to me, to share my excitement and my love for the game for people. And that's one of the reasons why I do radio, is because, you know, I love to have the idea that if I could share one or two things during a segment that makes you enjoy the football game just a little bit more, then I've done my job, because I owe that to football, and I owe it to the NFL. And I always felt like that was an important aspect, is to share your knowledge, and so people can enjoy the game even more.
Last thing on Joe Montana, can you confirm the stink bomb? Was that the first initial meeting with Joe Montana, or was that like the?
It wasn't the first meeting, but Joe was notorious for his pranks and all those kinds. I mean, you'd be, you know, I know this is a PG-13 show, but you'd be sitting on the potty in there, and all of a sudden it'd be snowing white talcum powder over the top on you, and it'd be Joe Montana. You go in the shower and you come out and you get a towel and you'd be wiping, and it'd be shaving cream in the towel. That was Joe Montana. And the other thing is he'd always throw a stink bomb. At least once a month, he'd have a stink bomb in there. And everybody knew who it was. But how you got to yell at Joe Montana? I mean, Marty Schottenheimer would just give that little smirky thing and walk off. I mean, if it was anybody else, Marty would be kicking his ass, but not Joe Montana.
Yeah, he knew what time it was.
Yeah.
But I remember the first preseason game. I went back and watched it. The first preseason game with Joe Montana as a quarterback. That was like the most anticipated Kansas City Chiefs football game. Like just going back and watching and hearing the crowd get hyped up for that, it was insane. Like cameras and stuff was everywhere for Joe Montana. So we enjoyed this couple years of Joe Montana, man. Just unfortunate that his career got cut short.
Yeah, a couple things. Number one, Joe always said that he regretted retiring and not playing a couple more years in Kansas City. He loved it so much. And I probably said that on his show. It is true. And one of my favorite stories about Joe Montana, you know, he lived over by the golf course over there off of like Knoll, 135th and Knoll, whatever. So, you know, he lived in a cul-de-sac neighborhood there. And his kids were, you know, fairly young. They were in their early teens. And the boys, you know, they had a bunch of buddies and they would be playing football and baseball and basketball all over the neighborhood. So one day it was a Saturday afternoon and the doorbell rang. And Joe's like, Jennifer, get that. And she wasn't there and the kids weren't there. So he's like, oh, man, I'll go get the door. And he looked out the window and he saw about 20 kids. He's like, oh, man. He said, I just don't feel like, you know, signing autographs, doing all that kind of stuff. And so he opens the door and they're like, Mr. Montana, can your boys come out and play? And he's like, I love it. He loved that they weren't there to see Joe Montana. They were there to hang out with the Montana boys. And he was just their dad. So that's why he loved Kansas City, you know, and you know, he was established in San Francisco with some businesses and everything else, but he often says many times that he loved Kansas City, loved living in Kansas City, just for the fact that people kind of let him alone. I mean, as much as you can leave a superstar like Joe Montana alone, they let him alone. And he lived there and his kids had a great time. He said his kids enjoyed living in Kansas City more than anywhere else. And it's just because, you know, they were just normal kids there, which was something he really wanted.
Well, speaking of guys that can't be left alone, we got this guy named Patrick Mahomes. And he, as much as Joe brought credibility to Kansas City, Pat actually won the title. We're legitimate contenders. We're going to always be in the conversation as long as he's the quarterback, right? So with the change this offseason of the EV and the Nagy and even Andy Reid coming in, how do you see that playing out this season?
Well, first of all, anytime you hear about a player and a coach having an argument, that happens all the time. I mean, that's just part of it. Two type A personalities, two guys that are very competitive, two guys that want to win. I love Eric Bieniemy. I played against Eric Bieniemy when he was in college. He was at Colorado, and I was at Notre Dame. We played him in the Orange Bowl, and he came out, and as God is my witness, he came out, and he came out to the 50-yard line and came over to Notre Dame sideline and challenged everybody on our team. And at that point, I'm like, what's this guy all about, man? But then I watched him play, and he backed it up. I mean, he was tough, physical, and he was a great sportsman. He's a great guy, but he was an intense, competitive, I guess, you know, like he called Montana or Mahomes a competitive prick. Well, he was kind of that way too. So, you know, those are two big personalities, and they're going to have arguments. I remember Art Shell and I went nose to nose on a Thanksgiving Thursday game in Dallas. We were nose to nose. I mean, we were both competitive, both guys who played the game, both guys who wanted to win, both guys who, you know, both wanted respect. Both guys were players, and that kind of stuff happens. So do I believe that Eric Bieniemy and Patrick Mahomes at times probably have words with each other? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that you don't love them. That doesn't mean you don't respect them. And you know what? Every once in a while, and this is an important point, maybe this is my coaching side coming out, players have got to understand they got to get out of their comfort zone sometimes. And you got to be coached. You got to be coached. If you get to the point where you think you're too good to be coached, then you start to fade and you start to die. You wither and die. Playing the game of football or really anything else in your life, it's about getting out of your comfort zone. The only way that you can grow is to get out of your comfort zone. So I'm glad Eric Bieniemy's back. I'm glad that he holds Travis Kelce accountable. I'm glad he holds Patrick Mahomes accountable. I'm glad he does those things. All right. And then I think Nagy coming back is great for Patrick because Patrick was kind of weaned on Nagy's coaching and teaching. And I think it'll be good for him to have a fresh set of eyes looking at some of the things he's doing well and some of the things he needs to work on. Because you know what? Patrick Mahomes still has to get better too. All right. He's not there yet. I mean, he is the best quarterback maybe in the league, but he's not there yet. That's part of the growing process. If you're an NFL player, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. You never stay the same. And good coaching will get you better. And if you don't take coaching, you're going to get worse. You ain't staying the same.
I'm so glad you said all that because that's the point I was making on the last episode of Kingdom Cast in regards to Patrick Mahomes. Like, yeah, you're the best quarterback in the league, but you're still not a finished product. There's still some things you need to work on. So I'm glad you said all that, Grunhard.
And Chuck, I hate to cut you off, but you know what? Patrick Mahomes knows it too. He knows he needs to get better. He knows there's things that he has to do better and work on. So don't feel sorry for Patrick Mahomes because Eric Bieniemy's chewing his ass. All right, that's just part of it, man. If the day that I always say to kids, the day that the coach stops talking to you is the day you should get worried, right? Because then they don't give a crap about you anymore, right? Or then they don't think they're worth your time coaching. So you know what? It's a good thing. You know, I want Eric Bieniemy to be a head coach in the NFL. I think he'd be a great coach in the NFL. He brings the juice. He brings the enthusiasm. He brings the toughness. He brings the experience. But since we have him here in Kansas City, we should be happy and blessed every time he has an opportunity to walk out of that tunnel with that team.
After that sermon, we got collection plates being handed out in the back.
For real, though.
Hey, man, Grunny,
Right.
you killed it. Next subject. Jesus Christ.
You know what, man? I think it's so important for people to understand that, you know, these guys are humans too. I mean, they go home and, you know, they got to take the garbage out. They got to go grocery shopping. They got to cut the lawn. They got to do all those things. They do. All right. And, you know, they get in arguments. They get in fights. They have bad days. You know, they wake up on the wrong side of the bed. I mean, that stuff happens. So, you know, I don't like when people say, well, you know, I can't believe that Eric Bieniemy and Patrick Mahomes are, you know, arguing and fighting with each other. It's just part of the process. And you know what? I promise you that they'll be giving big bro hugs next time they see each other.
Grunny, I want to ask you about Creed Humphrey.
Yeah.
What do you think about him?
About who?
Creed Humphrey.
Creed. Yeah, I love Creed, man. That guy shows a lot of toughness. And the one thing that I really think he does a good job of is he's just so physical with his hands. He does a really nice job of getting his hands in the right spot and finishing plays. And, you know, he's another guy that, listen, that offensive line with him and Smith, that's a, you know, I was blessed enough to play with Dave Zott and Will Shields for 9 or 10 years. And I can look at Will and I can look at Dave and make a grunt noise, and they knew exactly what we were going to do or what I was trying to say. And that's what you need to do on that offensive line. Remember, the offensive line, you got the 5 guys, right? And you got to be a fist. All 5 guys got to work together. And we saw that in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago when, you know, the Chiefs had a bunch of guys out and they weren't working together. Clark Hunt made it a point of emphasis to Brett Veach. He said, listen, I want this offensive line to address this offseason. The Chiefs went out and got Tunney. They went out and got Orlando Brown, and they went and drafted 2 superstar young football players. That offensive line is healthy. And to answer your question, Creed Humphreys he's a dude, man. But, you know, hey, listen, he didn't get to go to the Pro Bowl this year. That happens. That's part of it. That's just part of it. He'll get his. He'll get it. You know, sometimes it takes a couple more years than you hope. I know all about that. You know, it takes some time. But he, to me, and I know this for a fact, he's more concerned about, you know, winning football games, building a great tradition in that offensive line again, and bringing the Chiefs to a Super Bowl than he is about any Pro Bowls and all pros. So he's a good young football player. I really enjoy watching him.
So do you think that same conversation happened this year about the D line? Do you think Clark came to Brett and said, okay, we got to fix this? If we don't fix anything, we got to fix this.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why you saw Reed gone. And, you know, I think personally, I'd like to see Ingram stay. I think you can get him on a little bit on the cheap, and he's great in that room. Everybody I've talked to over there, and all the guys that are in that room, I'm talking about that room, I'm talking about the defensive line room in their meeting room. He's great. He's a great leader. He knows how to study. He knows how to communicate, and he knows how to hold people accountable. So I hope he stays. But you're going to probably see Frank Clark leave. You're probably going to see Okafor leave. So what they'll probably do is they'll probably go out and maybe find a guy in the draft. I think the Chiefs, personally, they got a bunch of third-round picks. If they're going to be serious about this defensive line, trade some of those picks, and Soren's going to get mad at me because he hates trading picks. Trade some picks, move up in the top 15 or 20, and go get yourself an elite defensive end / outside linebacker that rushed the quarterback. Because we saw what the Cowboys did. They went out and got one, and that defense got exponentially better. Chiefs should do the same thing. Listen, the window for the Chiefs is open right now. And it'll be open for, and I agree with the fact that Patrick Mahomes, as long as he's there, the Chiefs will always be in the conversation for the Super Bowl. But that window of opportunity will close and then open up again while Patrick Mahomes is here. And that is still open right now. And while it's open, you go and find somebody who's a difference maker on the defensive line, and you bring him in here. And let's get that defensive line straightened out. There's no reason why the Kansas City Chiefs should have had 1 sack against the Bengals when they had 18 sacks in the 2 games in front of them and behind them. That's ridiculous. So address the defensive line.
Grunny, are you being biased, or do you think the defensive line should be addressed before the secondary? Because to me, it seems like those are the 2 biggest holes we have on defense.
Well, I think they're going to address both of them. I think what they'll try to do is they'll, depending on whether they want to use the draft capital to move up in the draft to get a defensive end. If they don't, they can't, then I think they go corner. I think the Chiefs should go out and find a good cornerback in free agency too. They got the dude from the Patriots who'll be out there. He's going to be asking for a lot of money, but that guy's a ball hawk, man. He's a playmaker.
Yeah, J.C. Jackson.
Yes.
So, go out and find a corner. There's about 3 or 4 corners out there that are free agents that are going to have the opportunity. And then if you do that, then you address one with the draft and you address the other one free agency. You address the corners with free agency and you address the defensive line with the draft. And, I think they can do both. But you're right. The defensive backfield, that back end, I think needs a hell of a football player. I think that Matthew is going to be back. I think Thornhill, he came back this year. He got better. The arrow is still pointing up on Thornhill. He had those injuries. He's going to be good. He's going to be a good football player. They just got to really go out and find another corner, maybe a nickel type of defensive back corner / nickel to kind of straighten that out. But you know what? They did a good job of bringing in some young guys in that corner position. So let's see what they can do. But I agree. I think the defense, and you look at the draft this year, I think you're going to see a lot of defensive players taken, and they're either going to address that cornerback position with a free agent, or if they can't get a defensive end, they're going to go corner in that first pick. But they also need a wide receiver. They need another wide receiver too. So they got some work to do, Brett. That's why Brett Beach gets paid that big money, man. Figure it out.
That's interesting. You said Honey Badger, you think is coming back.
I do, yeah. And the other thing is this is just speculation on my part, speculation. I think the Chiefs go to a 34 defense next year. And listen, they just signed their defensive line coach is one of the elite odd defensive line coaches. Why would you go out and get that guy when you're going to run a 4-3? And if you do that, you got 2 linebackers right now, and Gay and the guy from Missouri. I'm drawing a blank.
Bolden.
You got 2 guys. I mean, those are heck of football players. You go out and you draft an outside linebacker type of guy in the draft. Now you got 3, and maybe go find somebody. Because I think it's easier right now to address building on those linebackers than going out and finding 3 quality defensive linemen, because that's what they're going to have to do. Now they go and find 2 quality defensive linemen, maybe 1 quality defensive lineman, and they can run that defense. That's just speculation, but you heard it here first.
Yeah, that speculation is interesting because, if you're going to change the scheme, if that does happen, you definitely got to have some outside linebackers with some athleticism and speed, because I think it's certain parts of this defense we like its speed. So we definitely gonna need some speed.
Well, you got Bolton and Gay are a good start. Both of those guys are very athletic. And you know what? Those two came in, man. Those puppies knew how to bite. You can't teach tackling anymore because in college level, nobody tackles because you have all these rules now, and then you get in the NFL and there's even more rules. So when you do look in the draft, you better find a guy who knows how to tackle and is willing to do it because it's hard to teach that anymore.
Yep, and like you mentioned earlier, practices they aren't like how they used to either. They're not as physical like back in your time. So
yeah, well. They take care of the guys now. You see me walking around, you'll see why. Hey, man, we don't want our guys to look like that in 25 years. That's for sure. So.
Hey, Grunny, can I ask you a hypothetical question?
Sure.
How would you attack Chris Jones as center?
Yeah, I would be aggressive on Chris Jones. I would try to get on him as quick as I possibly could because he is just so good at getting to his second move. So I would do what we call, you jump him, get on him quick, try and get in your hands as quick as possible, take him off, get him off balance at start, and then hold on for dear life. But if you step back on him and you give him some room to maneuver, he's going to set you up, and that second move is going to get you. So you got to take chances when you're going against a guy like Chris Jones. Now, as a center, if you're blocking Chris Jones by yourself, then you need to walk off the field and tell that offensive coordinator and that offensive line coach that they're dumbasses, right? So you need to double team them. That's the answer, to double team them. And that's why the Chiefs should have an opportunity to get to the quarterback because they're double teaming Chris Jones all the time. So those outside guys who got to make plays, and I thought Frank Clark had some good games this year and made some plays, but you got to be more consistent with that. If you got a superstar like Chris Jones in, and every offensive coordinator and every offensive line coach, I can promise you, if I'm sitting in that room and I'm coaching the offensive line, we're playing Chris Jones, the first thing I'm asking is, how are we going to address the situation with Chris Jones? That's the first thing you ask. And then you work everything else from that. So Chris Jones, if I had to go one-on-one with Chris Jones, kind of like with Howie Long back in the day, or with Cortez Kennedy back in the day, or with Ted Washington, or with those kind of guys, you better be aggressive, get your hands on them really quick and get them, kind of stun them and take them off their game. Because if you sit back and you let them kind of dictate the action to you, you're done.
Man, those are some beasts right there, man.
Yeah, those are some big guys.
Yeah.
You actually went nose to nose with Arshell? Are you crazy?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah, Art is a tough dude, man. And he's scary. He's scary. I did. And after the game, he's like, Grunny, I love you, man. And I knew that we came out a little bit flat. And I had to get on your ass because they'd all listen. If I get on you, they're going to listen. And he was right. We came out flat. I like the very first, it was like the first series, and I called something to Zot, and we didn't communicate it right. The guy got through and tackled. It was like 3rd down and 2, and he tackled him behind the line of scrimmage. We had a punt, and we came off, and Art was waiting for me, man. And I was like, oh God, here we go. And but we came out flat. He understood. He always used to say, I'm an offensive lineman coaching offensive line. I'm not an offensive line coach. So get your ass ready to play because I know what you can do and what you can't do. And I really enjoyed playing for him.
Do you feel like, do you feel like the center position has changed a lot over the last 20 years? I know you mentioned Creed Humphrey and how he's using his hands so much. Do you feel like there's big changes since you were playing?
Well, I think just on the offensive line as a whole, there's been a lot of big changes because it's mostly you got to be able to pass protect. If I was coming out 30 years ago, I wasn't the best pass protector, but I was a great run blocker. And that's why one of the reasons why I got drafted by the Chiefs. So, when the pass was called, I was like, oh, here we go. We'll see what happens here. But nowadays, these guys, they've got to be great pass protectors because there's so much passing going on in the NFL. And you got to be so athletic. And the other thing is these dudes are huge and they're athletic. I mean, back in the day, you had really big guys that weren't that athletic, and you had smaller guys like me that were athletic. But now you got big guys that are athletic. And it's just amazing to watch these guys go out there and play.
Yeah. So who are your top 5 centers in the league today? I don't know if you follow the league entirely. But.
Man, that's tough. Yeah, listen, I've been out of the league for now 20 years now, so I only know like 2 centers. Nobody ever knows who the centers are. Nobody even knew who I was back then. So, but I think Creed Humphreys is definitely up there as one of the top 5 centers and working his way up to the top 3, and he'll be a top 1. He'll be one of the best centers in the league by the time it's all said and done. And Andy Heck, who's the offensive line coach for the Chiefs, was my teammate at Notre Dame. He was a senior when I was a junior. So we played 4 years together, and he's a great technician. And he learned from a guy named Joe Moore. And Joe Moore was our offensive line coach. And a lot of the stuff that Andy brings to the Chiefs was from Joe Moore. And if you guys follow college football, which I know you do, the offensive line Heisman Trophy Award is called the Joe Moore Award after that coach. So Andy is just excellent at coaching, and he'll get those young guys right. He's a really stoic guy. He's the complete opposite of me. I mean, he's very cerebral and just, doesn't show a lot of emotion. I was the other way around. I was just screaming and yelling at people and trying to get him going and, getting people fired up. But he's an excellent coach, and he's going to get Creed right. He's a heck of a offensive line coach.
Grunny, who was the most difficult person that you blocked during your time?
Well, Cortez Kennedy, who's in the Hall of Fame, was an excellent player. Jerry Ball, who played for the Raiders and played for Detroit, was excellent. Howie Long, and then back in the day, they would take Charles Mann, and they would take Reggie White, and they would take all their best pass rushers, and in shotgun they line them up over the center. So I always hated that. In third down and long situations, I'd look up and there's Reggie White across from me, one-on-one. So, and they knew that I was more of a run blocker than a pass blocker. So it's probably taking advantage of the weakness. But, playing against some of those guys was just unbelievable. But if I had to say the best player I ever played against overall was probably Cortez Kennedy. And he was one of my best buddies, man. He was just a hardworking guy. And he went to Miami. We played against each other when I was at Notre Dame and Miami in some of those great battles. And then we became really good friends. But, boy, we went after each other in games. And it was always great to play against Cortez.
They was in the AFC West then, too. So, yeah, I know that was.
Oh, yeah, a couple of times a year. And so we got to know each other pretty well over 11 years, that's for sure.
So, and we know we got limited time. You talked about wide receivers. I want you to touch on what wide receivers you think would fit the scheme and fit Pat. Because I don't think you just have to fit the scheme. You have to fit Pat, too, when it's on your option routes and all that stuff, and when Pat scrambles and moves in the pocket. What guys you think that, pure speculation would fit with Pat in the scheme?
Well, I'm not sure of some names. I mean, we all talked about Smith-Schuster and some of those guys, but what I think the Chiefs need, they need a bigger body, kind of like a Mike Williams kind of guy. Mike Williams obviously is going to stay with the Chargers, but they got Hill and they got Hardman, and they have those fast guys, but there's nothing like having a big target wide receiver to throw the ball to on one of those slants or one of those in routes or one of those hitch routes where a big body can muscle a guy off the ball and make a play. So I think the Chiefs should really consider going and trying to find somebody with a little bit bigger body and give Patrick a little bit bigger target. He relies on Kelsey so much, but if you take Kelsey out of the game and, then all the big plays, the chunk plays until really late in the year, we're all going to Tyreek Hill. And they were taking that away too. So then Tyreek made some adjustments and did some other things that were underneath, which really helped out the Chiefs. But they need some more options. They got to take the top off, and they got to attack the paint. And they have to attack the paint with Kelsey and a big body receiver. And then you can take care of the sideline to sideline with Hilaire, or if McKinnon comes back, those kind of guys who are fast and catch the ball in the backfield. You got to attack at all 3 levels. And I thought last year the Chiefs didn't have the ability to attack at all 3 levels because of personnel problems.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Charles.
Yeah, I got a few more things, before we wrap up, because I want to be cognizant of your time too. I just ran across this earlier today. It's funny because it says back in 1992, the Chiefs played the Bills. You guys played the Bills. I think it was the divisional round game. It said you are the last player to get flagged for helping the runner. That's a rare penalty. That penalty hasn't been called since. I think it was I think it was like a screenplay to Rod Thomas, and he was trying to drag him to the first down marker. You grabbed his left shoulder pad, was dragging him to the marker. So that was pretty funny.
Chuck, man, hey, listen, I was going to finish that play, man. He wasn't down, so I'm getting him to that first down marker, whatever it took, right?
Right.
If you were going into McDonald's, man, and you were back in the line, I'd drag you up and get you a Big Mac. I promise you.
I wasn't sure if you knew that or not. So you're the last person.
There you go.
I wasn't sure if you knew that or not. So
I've never seen that play before, but it was hilarious. It was like, no, come on, dude. We got first downs down here. Come on.
The best part of that play is if you watch at the end of the play, the officials and all they're coming together. I never seen anything like that before. So they're talking for about a minute and a half, and I'm just kind of laughing back there. And Bruce Smith and Tally are in there yelling at the officials, like, you got to call that. You got to call that. I'm just laughing at them and smiling and just whatever. I knew it was a penalty. I didn't care. I mean, we were losing the game anyway. So, I mean, what did I have to lose? Yeah. One other time I did something kind of like that was I for some reason our long snapper got hurt. And I had a snap for punts in the Cleveland game in Cleveland in like 91. And the ball was – we were losing. The ball was bouncing around back there. So I tried to slap the ball and hit the returner with the ball so that it would be called a fumble. And they threw a flag on that for some reason. I don't know what delay a game or something. I don't know what they called it on. So I had all kinds of funny little penalties. It's just the way it kind of rolled. I found they were kind of fun to get called. So, if you get called for holding an offsides all the time, what fun is that?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So what was throughout your years here in Kansas City, man? We know we talked about Derek Thomas earlier in the show. What was he like as a teammate and a person off the field in general?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question, Chuck, because he was special to me. Listen, we had very little in common. He was, African-American guy from the South in Alabama, and I was from Chicago, and we just became fast friends. I mean, right from the beginning. I'll never forget, rookies have to stand on like the tables and sing the fight song. And because I was a second-round draft choice and Percy Snow was holding out, I was the highest round draft point, so they picked on me. So all the guys were making me go up there and sing like every day. And finally, Derek Thomas stepped up and said, I don't want to hear that Notre Dame fight song anymore. He said, that's enough. No more. He said, Grunny, you come sit with me. And from that point on, we were best buddies. I love that guy like a brother. And he was very, very special to me and special in my life. And, we had the same agent for the first part of our career. And he was just a special guy, man. Talk about a playmaker on the defensive side. Whenever you needed a play, you knew 58 was going to come around and make a play. You want to talk about a guy who didn't like to practice? This is before Iverson, man. I mean, remember Iverson? practice. Derek Thomas didn't. I remember watching him and saying, "This is Derek Thomas. This guy's terrible." And then all of a sudden, you get into a game situation, and he just destroyed people. That guy was special, man. He was awesome. And that's why, I dedicated my time to helping out his charity. And I love his mom. I see his mom a couple of times a year. We give each other big hugs, and she's a very, very special person to me. And so was Derek.
Yeah. You want to know the biggest mystery to me is my fault, Country.
I was gonna say I run into his son a few times. He's a real good kid too. Derek Jr.
Yeah, he's a great kid. Yeah, all of his kids. One of his daughters was an unbelievable track athlete at Free State, and she went on to run track. And all of his kids really turned out to be just great kids. And Third and Long helped out with that whole deal with some mentorship and stuff. So very, very happy to be a part of that organization. And Miss Betty, who runs it, you don't mess with her. You better answer the phone when she calls. So we love doing stuff, and that's why I did this 7 days for 7 sacks auction items. And if anybody out there is listening, I think we're giving 2 club level tickets and parking pass to a game this year. And I think the bidding's up to like $600-700. We'd love to get those bids up. If you guys, I always tell people, hey, go make memories, man. You can't. There's no U-Hauls behind hearses. So You can't take it with you, so enjoy it. Make memories and have a good time with your life, and this is an opportunity to do that.
Be on the lookout for that, guys. You want to know the biggest mystery about the 90s era? You know, we had a bunch of great teams. Unfortunately, we couldn't get to the Super Bowl and all that. All kinds of talent and everything. But the biggest mystery of that era was your Pro Bowl season in 1999. Because I was trying to figure out how in the world did that team not make the playoffs, man? Like, I looked at the roster. I said, dude, like, on offense, you know, we had a good offensive line. We had you, Zion, Will Shields, you know. But we also had guys like Bam Morris and T. Rich was running the rock well. And we had a good receiving core, and Joe Horn and Andre Rison was still playing. We had Derek Alexander and Tony G introduced himself to the league. And then we still had Derek Thomas. We had Donnie Edwards and James Hasty and all kinds of talent, man.
Well,
we had Leslie O'Neal from the Chargers. And I'm like, how did this team not make the playoffs?
Yeah, you know what the killer was, and you know, the last game of the year we had to beat the Raiders to go to the playoffs, and you know, not to say anything negative about our GM at the time, but he decided in January to sign a barefoot kicker who kicked the ball out of bounds.
Oh my goodness, man!
And then they got the ball on the 40-yard line, and Rich Gannon completed one pass, and Seabass kicked a 55-yarder to win the game. So it's two plays.
Yeah, that was Nagy actually.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Thanks, Carl.
Yeah, I remember that game because we had to a good start that game too. We had like 2 returns for touchdowns. We had Vanover return a punt, and then Hasty had a pick 6. It was looking like we was about to do it because before the game, we had won 18 of our last 20 against the Raiders, and then they said the Raiders haven't won an Arrowhead since 1988. We had all that going. It was looking like it was gonna be the same old story, and then we somehow lost that game. Crazy.
We're supposed to end on a happy note, Chuck. What are you doing?
Yeah, thanks for that, Chuck.
I'm sorry, but
you guys already made me miss church. Now I'm getting in trouble here with no, I'm only. But
my bad.
No, hey, but I will tell you this, guys. You know, anytime that you have an opportunity to come on and talk about the Kansas City Chiefs and share some stories, and for people who love the Chiefs, who love the organization, who love the people, you got to take advantage of it. So thank you guys so much for having me on. And I got a book coming out in July, and it's called it's A View from the Center. It's about the Chiefs in the 1990s and the rebuilding of the Chiefs in the 90s. And you guys, if you like the stories we talked about, got a bunch of stories and more, all about Rich Gannon, Joe Montana, Derek Thomas, Neil Smith, Dave Zott, Dan Saliamua, Bill Moss, all those guys, and talk about all those great games. So that'll be coming out here pretty soon. And I hope you guys check it out. I had a lot of fun writing it, and it took about 6-7 months to do it. And it's with the publisher now, and we're going to try and time it to come out during the season. So look for that book. It'll be coming out here pretty soon.
You got any Dale Carter stories in there?
What's that?
You got any Dale Carter stories in there?
Nope, I don't have any Dale Carter stories. But
so what's next for Third and Longer Foundation?
Well,
as far as that is concerned,
we have a golf tournament coming up on May 9th. If anybody wants to go out and sign up and play in the golf tournament, all the Chiefs ambassadors and some of the current players and just a bunch of people from the NFL come around. There's usually 36 groups, and there's usually 36 either current or ex-NFL players there to play with each group. So if you guys want to play some golf, if you want to pick the brains of some of the guys who play for the Chiefs and play for the Chiefs on May 9th, there's a golf tournament for Third and Long. We'd love to have you guys involved.
Miss Donna invited us. Thank you, Miss Donna.
Here you go. Miss Donna's the best. Don't mess with Miss Donna either.
Well,
do I have to be good at golf, or can I just come and try my best?
No, you can come and hang out in the car with me and drink a couple beers, and we'll just drive around. How about that?
That's more my speed, I think, on the golf course. But I'll sign up for that.
There you go.
Well, Tim, it's a blessing. I don't know how many times I've told you thank you over the last week or so. We did make a nice donation. I try to get close to your jersey number as possible with the donation, make it special. And you've been great. Miss Donna has been great. She said she would love to work with us down the line, and we would love to talk to you any other time or any other guys we can get. We enjoy you, man. You've been great for the city. You not only played here, but you stayed here. built your family and the community and everything. And even though you're a Chicago guy, you're a Kansas City guy to us forever. Man, we appreciate it.
And I'm dead serious. Let's do this again, whether it's after the draft or something, and we'll do it again during the season. Love talking with you guys. You guys are a blast to talk to, and thanks for all your support, and thanks for being part of the Chiefs Kingdom. That's what's special about Kansas City is, there's so many great fans and the people that do these podcasts and stuff, just sharing the fun and sharing the excitement and sharing the love for the Kansas City Chiefs. So thank you guys, and God bless you all.
Appreciate you, Grunny.
Yes.
Thank
God
you
bless
so
you,
much.
man.
Tim act like we ain't gonna call him back next week.
That'll cost you another $61.
That's fair. Totally fair.
That's
Right.
only kidding.
We can
Anytime.
do that.
See y'all
Hey,
later.
man, we definitely enjoyed
All
you,
right,
man.
too.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thanks,
sir.
guys.
Woo!
That was Tim
amazing.
Grunhard, everybody.
Tim Grunhard.
Chiefs legend, man.
That was incredible.
Legend in the building.
So
I know I got to get that book. I got to hear more stories,
sure.
right?
yeah,
Man.
definitely. It's good to look. Sometimes it's good to look behind the scenes and see them things that you always wondered about and kind of get some impact, kind of get some feedback, some info on those type of things, man. That's always a great thing. So that was man. I'm emotional.
Yeah.
I know, right? I know. I feel like he cracked that book open with all those little stories he was telling, and I just couldn't stop listening. I was all ears. He was great. It's great to have him on.
So
Awesome,
let's
man.
get into that tweet, Chuck, real fast before we get out of here.
We got
That,
a few more
do
things
you
to
have
talk
the
about.
tweet? Do you have the tweet?
The Josina Anderson tweet.
Yeah.
All right.
'Cause
Yeah.
He was
Yeah, I
saying,
just had it up.
I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just the way it's worded is weird and confusing. So I can't wait for her to follow it up. Has she followed up with the tweet since then? Read the
I don't
tweet.
know. I went to her page. I went
Okay.
to her page recently, but I definitely understood what she was talking about. So,
Okay, so what do you think?
to me, first off, I got to find the tweet. First of all, to me, when I first saw the tweet, I just had an understanding that Matt Nagy's gonna eventually take over as the next coach when Andy Reid retires. I mean, that's what I got from it when I saw the tweet. So that's how I looked at it.
Would you be mad? Would you be mad about it?
Well, my thing is this: Patrick Mahomes, he clearly endorsed it because I just remember these series of tweets that have been going on for the past couple of weeks, just across Chiefs Kingdom in regards to Matt Nagy and Eric Bieniemy. I seen Tyreek, tweet about Eric Bieniemy saying he's one of the best coaches in the building. Travis Kelce retweeted it, and I didn't see Patrick Mahomes retweeted it. But when the Matt Nagy news came out about him coming back to our coaching staff, Patrick was right on it. So, he clearly on board with Matt Nagy, and it sounds like with EB just getting another 1-year deal and possibly moving on somewhere else. It just sounds like Matt Nagy's gonna be here for the long run.
Man, I don't know if we can look too much into Pat not retweeting something, but
Yeah,
if
I'm
it
with
is,
you on that.
He's at a bachelor party.
yeah, he's busy.
Yeah.
Got things going on.
He about to get
And
married.
See, man.
About to get married. His little girl just turned 1. He was at the birthday party. That's what I'm gonna say.
Man, I can't stand TMZ, man. I'm like, what? Why did that have to be news, man? I'm like, he's just doing what a normal person would do for their bachelor party. Like, come on, man.
Bro, he at that level, bro. He at that level.
Like you really could cover something else, man. I mean, I get it, but that was just ridiculous to me to cover
I
that.
think, Chuck, it's just bad because the last 2 weeks it's been so much other BS stories too. So it's like, damn, now this, you like, fuck, man. How many more stories, Mahomes stories, we getting in a week?
Right.
This wedding will be crazy, right? You know that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Y'all over that wedding. They're gonna try to sneak the camera in that wedding.
Oh yeah.
Off white. She should be wearing pastel, and he's wearing blue. He should be wearing black. And it's gonna get. You know how it is, bro. It's social media era, man.
So, Kylie, hold on. You was cool with Nagy being a coach? I didn't hear you say it. Was you cool?
No. If he was to become the head coach,
eventually, hypothetically, Randy Reid
I think.
retired.
Yeah, I think it's all going to be a timing thing for me. I think the way the tweet reads, it's kind of like maybe it could be after next season, which if that's the case, you're then looking at, okay, well, Eric Bieniemy's contract's a year. So do you skip over EB, who we've said for so long, he should be a head coach. And, a lot of members of the Chiefs staff have been like, he should be a head coach, but then the opportunity awaits, Reid leaves, and then you bring Nagy in as the coach. It's kind of, I don't know. I just think it gets a little messy. I wasn't a huge fan of how he handled the Bears as a head coach, but I don't hold that against them. I think that also has to do with the staff and the players and who he has around him. So I'm anxious to see what he does as a QB coach back here in Kansas City and the relationship he builds on with Patrick, and I think that'll tell a lot.
All right, so here's the tweet. I got the tweet up right now. Okay, so here's what Josina said. She said, things in Kansas City are going to be quite interesting to keep an eye on right after – oh, shoot, this stuff coming up on me, man. Sorry. Right after the NFL Combine and next season, Matt Nagy's addition will not only prove to be good timing to handle the upcoming allocation of duties, but also is very well received by Patrick Mahomes. So
that's the allocation of duties part. That's the weird. What does that mean? Exactly. Eric Bieniemy's in charge of the running plays, and he's in charge of the passing plays.
Probably.
Is that what we think it is? That's the weird part right there. That wording.
Yeah, I think he might be spot on with that, country.
And the combine is next week, so it's not like we got to wait a long time to get an answer. We gonna be knowing pretty soon.
Yeah, we know things heat up when there was owner meetings and stuff. Remember how that Marcus Peters, how fast that shit happened? Mm-hmm. It was a little quick little thing, then it was like instantly. So we're gonna hear about this real soon, but it's gonna get crazy. I don't know, man. I don't think Nagy's a bad option. Like you said, Kylie, I see what you're saying with the Chicago, but if we being even with everything, he did have Mitchell Trubisky, so. He got him to the playoffs, so to me, that you get some respect for that. But I agree that is gonna be a little messy if somehow he is the coach and Eric Bieniemy is not, and Bieniemy has been a better offensive coordinator.
Listen,
it's gonna be messy. Strap in. That's all I gotta say. It's gonna be crazy.
Listen, man, the black coaches are only allowed to build up teams in the rebuild years, man. So, but anyway, besides that, man, in other news, Anthony Hitchens got released, and surprisingly, I seen all kinds of people upset about it. Like, I think it was well overdue, man. Like he looked like he was getting older out there. I'm sorry, it was time for Hitchens to go, man. Like he was a good mentor for Gay and Bolton, but it's time for them young boys to take over, man. So I don't get why so many people were so disappointed and upset about him being released. I don't get it.
I mean, I think a lot of people will grow attachments to these players, obviously. But at the end of the day, and I tweeted about this, like it's a business, and Veach is going to make those decisions, and the team's going to make those decisions that are best for the team going forward. So as much as people might be hurt by it, like if you want a better defense, like these are those steps that need to be taken.
Who was hurt about Hitchens getting cut? Do y'all have any of their acts? Because I want to talk
sure
as soon as this show is over.
Get them.
Please.
Get
if
them.
y'all have anybody's act that wanted Hitchens to stay, please send it to me. Please after this episode. Because I'm so happy he's gone, man. I'm gonna be honest, man.
Hitchens did what he was supposed to do. He carried us over a dry spot. He taught the guys how to be pros, how to approach the game. And now it's Willie Gay Bolton's turn. I mean, he did what he was supposed to do. we overpaid for him, but at the time we was overpaying for guys. He did what he was supposed to do. Congratulations and good luck next stop, wherever you go. You know what I'm saying? It's Willie Gay and Nick Bolton time. You know what I'm saying? I don't know who was upset because we all knew it was coming. You know what I'm saying? Like, and when Frank Clark gets released over the next 2-3 weeks or whatever, that's not gonna be a shocker either. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, y'all gotta pay attention.
Chris, I would have gave you gas money, Chris. I'm telling you.
Oh my
Talking
God.
about the fans, how Hitchens talked about the fans. And all that.
Right.
Yeah, dog.
Respectfully, thank you. You got a ring with us. Bye. Good luck. Good luck wherever you go, man. Good luck.
Man.
It shouldn't
that was
be
too much.
You shouldn't be upset or shocked at what happened with Hitchens. That was pretty much
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, man, shout out to at Abstract Bravo. That's Fred. So
Fred.
yeah, check his mentions, Boogie. Check his mentions for that.
Check
on that
Fred
Boogie.
mentions. Okay.
Yeah.
That
was just wild to me.
It was a Cowboys fan arguing with me about Hitchens. I'm like, bro, I don't know what y'all think y'all getting, man. But if it's gonna make y'all a better team, if you think that, good luck, man. More power to you.
Right.
I think the Chiefs actually did him a favor by releasing him early so we can get out there and work his way without it being a long, drawn-out process. We're not going to hold you hostage, bro. You can go out there and do what you got to do. So I think they showed him love by releasing him. And like you said, God don't make no mistakes. So the job he was supposed to do, could he have done it better? Maybe.
Absolutely.
But I think he did absolutely whatever. I think he did teach Nick Bolton and Willie Gay how to approach the game, how to prepare, how to play like a NFL linebacker. They just
Boogie's
have
like, nah.
skill.
Boogie not going for it.
They more athletic and they can do the things that he no longer can do. You feel me? The same thing with Alex Smith teaching Ben how to be a pro. That don't mean that he taught him how to play the game. He just taught him how to approach the game, how to study, and all that good stuff. He gone anyway. So best of luck to Anthony.
Yeah.
I met Anthony Hitchens' wife. She was a very nice, very good lady. Nice lady.
Shout out to the family. Good luck.
Yeah.
Chris going in.
Chris is going hell.
Chris.
My boy, Chris.
Chris is going.
Hey, but look,
Oh man.
and Boogie almost messed up the whole Grunhard interview because he said Tyrann Mathieu coming back. His face went from.
No. I haven't heard anybody say they thought he was coming back yet. I was surprised.
Boogie almost bit his in the lip, bro. He almost bit your lip off.
I'm going to just leave it at that, man.
Man, oh man. But before we go, man, let's get outside of football and the Chiefs for a sec, man. Have you guys watched the Bel Air or the Kanye documentary? Have you guys caught up on that?
Bel Air, yes.
I ain't watching that.
Listen, I gotta say something. I know I've heard a lot of good things about Bel Air being good, and that's all fine and well, and Will Smith's behind it, but I am still very hurt. I'm not ready to move on to this new Bel Air yet. I am so attached to the old one. I think that's where I'm at. But I've heard it's really good, and respect if it is, and I'm going to get to it. I just haven't yet, and that's it.
Take your time, because when you get it, you go binge it. It's really good.
Okay.
I came into it with no expectations, so I don't want to spoil nothing. But yeah,
it's good, but
Right.
you have to completely separate Fresh Prince from Bel Air. You have to.
yeah.
You're not gonna
Right.
like it. Because I went into the first episode on some Fresh Prince, and I was like, I hate this. This is trash. Why are they doing this? So
Fresh Prince is my favorite show ever. Like, it's just so hard to think of it being anything else.
yeah,
Anything
when you
different.
separate it though, it ends up being a good show. But you
Very good. Very good.
You have to separate it. If you do not separate it, you're not gonna like it.
Tell
The
me, I'm
Kanye West
snapping.
documentary. If you've ever been a fan of Kanye West, you're gonna love the documentary. It's amazing.
Yeah, I might watch that tonight, man.
What's
Yeah,
that
it's
one
incredible.
on?
It's on
What's the-
Netflix.
Okay.
Caleb, man, shit.
Caleb, no. Caleb, that better
No.
not happen, Caleb. That better not happen,
I
Caleb.
hope it does.
Caleb, man.
That better not happen, dog.
Yeah.
I'll be so pissed. I'll be pissed if that happens again, dog. But yeah, that Kanye
Man.
documentary is fire though, man. First 2 parts is dope. I'm interested to see how they're gonna do part 3, man. Part 3 gonna be crazy.
How many parts
think-
is it gonna be, Chuck? Do you know?
He says a trilogy, so I assume it's just a 3-part series.
Oh, okay.
But we'll
Yeah.
see.
Oh, okay.
Man, I have so much to watch right now, and it's just like there's like an oversaturation of things I have to watch between that. Still haven't watched Ozark. Don't get on me yet. Don't talk to me about it. I know. Don't.
I haven't
I knew
watched
that
it
was
either.
coming.
I
I
haven't
knew
watched
that
it
was
either.
coming from Boogie. I knew that was coming
You are
from
not
Boogie. I
alone.
said, don't do it.
You are not
Well,
alone.
no.
Did you watch Snowfall?
I
No.
still gotta watch that. I still gotta watch another season of that.
I've never watched the episode. Never.
Take us.
But I'm waiting till it finishes, then I'm gonna binge watch it. Because now everybody's ahead of me. You know how they get to
Man,
So I'm gonna wait till it finishes, then I'm gonna start watching. I don't want to be caught up with everybody else. They spoil
you
it
ain't
too
never
much
watched
on
it.
socials,
You
man.
got 4 seasons.
That's what I'm
I'll
saying.
knock
You
it
got
out
plenty of
fast,
season to
bro.
catch up. You got plenty of time to catch up.
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna have to like
I
lock
guarantee
myself
you
in my
Snowfall
house.
is good. You watching Power? You watching Tommy right now?
yeah.
Oh, it's way better than Snow. It's not better than Snowfall. Snowfall way better than that.
So,
We
You
don't
guys
even
watch
call it
HBO?
We just call it the Tommy Show. We don't even call it by the right name. I don't even know the name, but it's
he says the Tommy Show now.
Tommy
Tommy done took
Show.
that thing over.
Man, did you guys watch Peacemaker or do you watch Righteous Gemstones? Either one of those
Peacemaker
shows.
was hilarious.
I heard
It was
Peacemaker fire.
amazing. It's so good.
What's it
Peacemaker
called?
with John Cena.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh no, I haven't seen that.
It's on
Yeah, I heard-
HBO. You should watch.
My
Yeah, I
son
heard
just
John
said something
Cena.
about that. He liked John Cena.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Cena.
great.
I don't know if it's
I heard
for
Cena was amazing.
kids.
Oh, you said you don't know if it's okay. But
I don't know.
Cena's
Country,
in
you
it,
think
though.
it's for kids? You think it's for kids?
No, no.
Okay, John Cena's just in it. Okay,
No.
okay.
Yeah. Not like don't put
It's not you can't see me, John Cena. It's a whole different type of John Cena. No,
Oh,
it's
okay,
not
okay.
good.
Yeah.
Please don't let man-
It's HBO, so they show quite a bit too. So
Oh,
Please
yeah.
don't let the boys watch it.
Like, yeah, they told me on the podcast to let you watch this, son.
No, for anyone who has kids who's watching, don't let them watch Peacemaker.
No,
I feel like we should put that out there.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, exactly. Disclaimer.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, man. Take us out.
Yeah, let's get on out of here, y'all. That'll conclude another episode of Kingdom Cast. Like, thank everybody for tuning in. Special shout out to Tim Grunhard once again for joining us. Doing great things with the Third Lawn Foundation, and hope we keep it going, for the rest of our lifetimes and for years to come. So, with that being said, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment on your social media platforms. Until the next episode, we out of here, y'all.
Peace.
Peace.